The silence that followed was deafening. Marcus Wellington III stood frozen in the doorway of his daughter's music room, his chest tight with a recognition so profound it threatened to shatter everything he thought he knew about worth, sacrifice, and the invisible threads that bind us all together. The melody floating from his 12-year-old daughter's violin wasn't just beautiful, it was hauntingly familiar, carrying with it the weight of a story he never bothered to hear. 3 weeks earlier, Marcus had been striding through the gleaming corridors of Wellington Industries, his Italian leather shoes clicking against marble floors that cost more than most people's annual salaries. He was heading to another board meeting, another million-dollar decision, when he spotted something that made his blood boil. Jorge Martinez, the night janitor, was carefully placing what appeared to be a violin case into a worn canvas bag. "Stealing now, are we?" The words escaped Marcus's lips before he could stop them, sharp and accusatory in the pristine hallway. Jorge looked up, startled, his weathered hands freezing on the case. At 62, he carried himself with a quiet dignity that somehow made Marcus even more irritated. The man had been cleaning these floors for 8 years, invisible and unremarkably until now. "No, sir, Mr. Wellington," Jorge replied softly, his accent thick with exhaustion. "This is mine. I need to take it somewhere." Marcus's eyes narrowed. He'd built his empire by reading people, by spotting lies and weaknesses from across a boardroom. And this looked exactly like what he expected from someone like Georgie, a man who cleaned up other people's messes for minimum wage. "Right, a janitor with a violin. And I suppose you're secretly a concert pianist too?" The mockery in his voice echoed off the walls. Jorge's shoulders sagged slightly, but he didn't defend himself. He simply nodded respectfully and continued down the hallway, carrying his burden with him. Marcus forgot about the incident within hours, his mind consumed with quarterly reports and merger negotiations. He had no way of knowing that Jorge was walking to Murphy's pawn shop on 5th Street, his heart breaking with every step. The violin had been his father's. Manuel Martinez had been first chair in the Mexico City Symphony Orchestra before arthritis stole his career and poverty drove the family north. For 40 years, the instrument had sat in Jorge's small apartment, a reminder of music and dreams that once filled their home. Jorge had learned to play as a child, his fingers dancing across strings his father had made sing. "But dreams don't pay medical bills." "How much?" Jorge asked Murphy, his voice barely a whisper. "It's old, but it's not a Stradivarius," Murphy said, examining the instrument with practiced eyes. "I can give you $4,000. Take it or leave it." $4,000. Exactly what Jorge needed for his daughter Maria's insulin for the next 6 months. Her diabetes had been getting worse, and without insurance, the medication costs were crushing their family. His wife Elena worked double shifts at the diner, but it wasn't enough. It was never enough. Jorge nodded, signed the papers, and walked home with the money and an empty space in his chest where his father's music used to live. Meanwhile, Marcus was dealing with his own family crisis. His daughter Emma had been struggling since her mother's death 2 years earlier. The 12-year-old barely spoke anymore, drifting through their mansion like a ghost. Therapists, private schools, expensive vacations, and nothing seemed to reach her. His latest attempt was music lessons, though Emma showed little enthusiasm for the piano her instructor had suggested. "I want to try violin instead," Emma announced one Tuesday evening, her first unprompted words in weeks. Marcus would have bought her a dozen violins if it meant seeing that spark in her eyes again. The next day, his assistant called every music shop in the city, searching for the perfect instrument. When she mentioned the beautiful violin at Murphy's pawn shop, Marcus didn't hesitate. "Buy it," he said, "whatever it costs." He never connected the dots, never wondered how a violin came to be in a pawn shop, never considered the story behind its presence there. To him, it was simply another purchase, another problem solved with money. Emma's transformation was immediate and miraculous. The moment she drew the bow across the strings, something awakened in her. The violin seemed to sing in her hands, as if it had been waiting for her touch. Her instructor, Mrs. Chen, was amazed by Emma's natural ability and the instrument's rich, warm tone. "This violin has been loved," Mrs. Chen told Marcus. "You can hear it in the sound." Someone played this with their whole heart. But Marcus was too focused on his daughter's progress to pay attention to such sentimental nonsense. Emma practiced for hours every day, filling their empty mansion with music for the first time since her mother's death. She learned simple melodies, then complex pieces, but there was one song she returned to again and again, a haunting lullaby that seemed to flow from her fingers without conscious thought. The breakthrough came during Emma's school concert. As she performed her solo piece, Marcus sat in the audience, pride swelling in his chest. But as the final notes faded, he heard Emma whisper to her instructor, "That song always makes me think of someone sad who misses their family." Something cold settled in Marcus's stomach. After the concert, he found himself studying the violin more closely. There, inside the case, he discovered a small, faded photograph of an elderly man in a formal concert suit, holding the same violin, surrounded by a beaming family. The next morning, Marcus called Murphy's pawn shop. "The violin you sold us last month," he said, his voice strangely tight. "Do you remember who brought it in?" Murphy's voice was cautious. "I don't usually discuss previous owners, but yeah, I remember." Older Hispanic gentleman, real broken up about selling it, said it was his father's, from the old country, needed money for his daughter's medicine. The phone slipped from Marcus's hand. That evening, he stood outside Hawke's apartment building in a neighborhood he'd never visited, holding the violin case and the photograph. His Bentley looked absurdly out of place among the modest cars and children playing in the courtyard. Hawke answered the door in his work uniform, his eyes widening in recognition and confusion. Behind him, Marcus could see a small, tidy apartment filled with family photos and the warm smell of home-cooked food. "Mr. Wellington, is everything okay? Did I do something wrong?" "This is yours," Marcus said simply, holding out the violin case. His voice was rough with an emotion he couldn't name. Hawke's hands trembled as he opened the case. When he saw his father's violin, tears began streaming down his face. "I don't understand." "How did you?" "My daughter has been playing it," Marcus said quietly. "She learned your father's lullaby somehow, the one you must have played for your children." From inside the apartment, Marcus could hear the sounds of family life. A woman's voice calling from the kitchen, children laughing, the television playing softly in Spanish. It was chaotic and warm and everything his sterile mansion wasn't. "I can't take this back," Hawke said, though his hands cradled the instrument like a newborn. "Maria, my daughter, she needs her medicine." "The money is handled," Marcus interrupted. "All of it. Her medical expenses, college fund, whatever she needs. And this," he gestured to the violin, "this belongs with you. With your family." Hawke looked at him with confusion and dawning understanding. Why? Marcus thought about his daughter's transformation, about the music that had filled their empty house, about the invisible threads that connected strangers in ways they never imagined. "Because my daughter taught me something," she said. "This violin carries the love of everyone who ever played it." And she's right. As Marcus walked back to his car, he could hear the violin singing again, this time in Hawke's hands, playing the same lullaby Emma had learned, but richer now, fuller, played by someone who understood its history and heartbreak. The next Monday, Hawke arrived at work to find new nameplate on an office door, Hawke Martinez, Director of Community Outreach. Inside was a desk, a computer, and a mission statement about using Wellington Industries resources to identify and assist families in crisis. But the real change happened every evening at 6 o'clock, when Hawkeye would arrive at the Wellington mansion to give Emma violin lessons. She would play the technical pieces Mrs. Chen assigned, but she always ended with her favorite air, the lullaby that taught a billionaire CEO that worth isn't measured in dollars, and that sometimes the most beautiful music comes from the most broken hearts learning to sing again. In the space between those notes, two families learned that kindness multiplies when shared, and that the most valuable things in life can never be bought, are only recognized, honored, and passed on to the next generation.